Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, come on. Good afternoon, everyone. The school principal in me comes out. I was told I was supposed to speak to an intimate crowd of 20. Hi, everybody, the 20 plus. Well, welcome to this year's AVID Summer Institute here in my hometown, San Diego. My name is Claudia Jordan, and I am an AVID alumni. Looking across this room, I can't believe how AVID has transformed itself over the last 30 years. In thinking about the theme, a tradition of innovation, a future of transformation, AVID was very innovative 30 years ago, and especially 26 years ago when I walked in to room 206. There was only one AVID classroom at that time, and there was only one teacher. It was the first time I met my teacher, Mrs. Mary Catherine Swanson. And at that time, I had no idea what the future of transformation would be for me. It's 1984. AVID was going into its fourth year as a baby academic elective in a high school that was just getting its feet wet. Luckily, the prior year, junior AVID began at Marston Junior High School, a feeder school just across the street. In my faded memory, I had gotten picked for this elective and knew at least one class that I would have in the big foreign world of high school. A class that I knew would be of help, but it ended up being so much more. Eudora Welty said in her autobiography, One Writer's Beginnings, "Childhood's learning is made of moments. It isn't steady. It is a pulse." AVID was one of many moments that changed the pulse of my personal and educational life. I am of one of three children. I'm the youngest. My mom raised us in Section 8 apartments, a widow. We had no car. We took the bus everywhere, and we shopped with food stamps. Hand-me-downs, well, that was a variety. Sounds familiar with minority students, especially in inner-city schools. But there was a difference, though. And I learned this later when I read Ruby Payne's book, A Framework for Understanding Poverty. She talks about factors contributing to moving in and moving out of generational poverty. There were factors that I had that contributed to me moving out of poverty, situational poverty, as I later figured out. Learning educational tools that would lead to attending a university was a stepping stone to moving out of poverty and learning the hidden rules of social classes. AVID gave me those tools. No one in my family had gone to college. The thought of college was not even in my radar in junior high. The first time I heard of the idea of college was when a speaker came to talk to us about the 4-year plan for the UC system. And then it dawned on me, maybe I can go to college, but I still didn't know what to do. Junior AVID at Marston Junior High was my pivotal break, getting students ready at the middle school level to transition into high school. I fit the criteria for being an AVID student. So what was AVID like in the beginning? Well, it was a classroom with a teacher and young college tutors. Room 206 had college pennants, posters all around. There were inspirational quotes. The tables were set up in groups, not rows. And then there was Ms. Swanson, our AVID teacher. So what do high school students do, usually when they meet their teacher? They try to size them up, figure out what they're all about, and try to survive and pass the class. This class, though, was far from it. It was about us. It was about how you would learn fundamental educational habits that would mold you into a great learner in life. These habits would continue with me through college, teaching, being a vice principal, and eventually a school principal. Even beyond my educational career, AVID's impact has influenced all aspects of my life. So let's see. What were a few of these habits? Structure, support, keeping your work organized, binders, learning and reviewing the material via note-taking, yes, Cornell note-taking. For you newbies, you'll hear about that later in the week. So how could a speech here at this Summer Institute not include the word Cornell? Have you ever heard the stories of people say, well, when I was a little kid, I walked 10 feet through the snow? Well, when I was an original AVID student, we wrote our notes on regular pieces of paper, folded them 1/3 over, drew a line down that fold, and called it Cornell. Nowadays, you can Google it, you can find templates on Microsoft Word, you can PDF generate it, you can buy them pre-made, and you can even get an app for it. I'm just kidding. Some of you are grabbing your phones. I already searched on my iPhone. But if AVID has a Facebook, I want to be their friend. But back in 1984, there was no Google, no internet, cell phones, or even computers in the classroom. Shocking for the students who are in the room. You had your basic tools, a paper, a ruler to fold it faster, a few pencils, and your own individual determination. Mrs. Swanson, she taught us how to be organized. She taught us how to keep meticulous binders with our notes and all our class assignments. She introduced us to roots and prefixes and study groups by classes and subjects. She was building us up with the tools to be just as competitive or even greater in those classes. We were, of course, enrolled in AP classes. She was developing our individual determination. I know this because I was a very shy student in high school, and I want to say very, very shy in high school. So how do you develop a voice in a shy student? Well, you give them the tools, and they will grow. By the end of my high school experience, I was speaking at pep rallies. I was a senior class vice president. I couldn't have done it without some structure to write speeches or essays, which I did all with the help of AVID. Initially, in my sophomore year, it was scary. Going into these classes, I looked around and found that all my friends that came on the bus with me weren't in those classes. That set me apart, and I felt alone. As a support, I had to lean on my AVID friends in my classes. In some cases, I may have been the only AVID student in an AP class, but I could always go back to my AVID class and have a study group. I found this support structure so important back then, and have taken it with me throughout my life. A collaborative learning environment. It works wonders rather than being the lone wolf. Socioeconomically and ethnically, I look different in these classes, but AVID always was the anchor to not being so different. Creating a class to teach inner city students being bused across town to a non-minority school and place them in rigorous academic courses. See that idea? That hasn't fully taken on in many schools present day. They just haven't figured out that AVID's been doing it successfully for 30 years. I definitely got to see the early struggles of AVID, especially when it was trying to find its voice in education in the 80s, just as I began to develop my voice in high school. By the time I was a senior in high school, Mrs. Swanson had left. Another pivotal turning point in AVID history. She took the mighty leap of going countywide with AVID. Naturally, we thought, how could AVID survive without her? Lots of the students and the tutors felt that uncertainty. Luckily, Mr. Thorpe became our AVID teacher, and he was a wonderful man. Thinking back, he was the person for the transition, while we still got updates on Ms. Swanson going out into the world and growing AVID. We even had our first sort of, say, AVID conference workshop that year. Nothing like the summer institutes today, but we had students and educators from our district come out and speak at these workshops. It was held at the War Memorial Building in Balboa Park. A few years back, as I was opening a brand new school as a principal, my district mentor, Wendell Bass, and we got to talking about AVID. I was sharing with him that I wanted to bring AVID Elementary to my school site. The next day, he brings me this program, and it's that first conference workshop. We were both presenters. I as a student, the future principal, and Mr. Bass as the teacher, the future mentor. At that moment, AVID came full circle in my life. In 1987, I ventured out into a four-year university, the first in my family and still scared to death. The beauty of AVID is that you made friends, and some were lifelong friendships. AVID was a class of all students, mixed grades, and we all shared common experiences in working together. One of those friendships I developed was with my friend Yoli. She was a senior when I was a junior, but we bonded through all the struggles of being in an AP class. She left to UC Santa Barbara, and we kept in touch. One of her first letters she wrote to me, she talked about how AVID had been helping her, and that I should stick to it. Yes, we wrote back then, because email wasn't invented yet. Remember, this is the 80s, folks. I supported her while she was on her own away from home, and when I went off to San Diego State the next year, she supported me. All the tools AVID gave me allowed me to navigate college life. Along the way, Yoli and I supported each other through our college experience, our personal lives, and our careers. I am very proud to call Dr. Yolanda Bogarin my old AVID friend, but I just call her Yoli. AVID is family. You take care of each other. You help each other grow and learn. See, Yoli was the one who helped me write my speech running for ASB in my AVID class. She had done it the year before as she ran for ASB president. A few months back, we were both asked to speak at the Summer Institutes, she at Orlando and me here in San Diego. Sure enough, we're emailing each other, outlining our speeches, our two-person study group, talking on the phone about what we remembered. 26 years later, we are still working on organization with what we learned from AVID, another full circle with AVID. A principal philosophy that I learned from my days in room 206 was that you help people up and forward. I did this when my younger cousins were getting ready themselves to go to college. They already had the one and only example, me, going to college. They didn't have AVID in their schools because it was still such in the growing stages in the 80s. But I passed on all my knowledge that I had learned, and I kept them up to speed with the pros and cons of college life. I am proud of my accomplishments over the years, but I am most proud to say that in my family, a family that didn't have degree holders, that now we have USC, UCSD, UC Santa Cruz, UC Berkeley, Chicago U, John Carroll U, Ohio State, Texas A&M, and even Cornell University graduates. And coming this fall to the Jordan family clan as a doctoral graduate and a second-generation AVID student entry into UC Riverside, so I'm very proud of them. We definitely did not become another family going into generational poverty. When they say education is the key to success, you better believe it. Help people up and forward. I went back to the community I was raised in to teach, to work on the next generation of students to go to college. When I became a principal, I wanted AVID Elementary at my school site to help my students have the tools to be successful. We even have one of our walkways named AVID Way. When you venture into this week and back at your school sites with all your new learnings, help each other out and take AVID forward. It comes down to you, your own individual determination to make a difference. It comes down to you to take what you learn and apply it in your life. As an individual, your capacity is vast. It's been a long time since I was that shy kid walking into room 206. I never thought that I would end up being a school principal or even speaking in front of a large audience. People along the way help you evolve. Individually, you start to take shape, and sometimes in life, you get the opportunity to be part of something that transforms you. So for that, I thank you, AVID. Have a wonderful week.